The quiet fire of Daniel Hayes. Look at that wreck of a truck. I swear it's in better shape than your face and your miserable life, you piece of junk. Officer Seth Granger stood in the middle of the quiet suburban street, barely out of his teenage years, and yet already armed with the inflated authority of a man who believed the badge pinned to his chest made him superior to everyone he encountered. He barked the insult at an older man seated silently behind the wheel of a weather-beaten Ford Ranger. T.O. Seth, the world was divided into winners and has-beens. He had no idea that the man he just ridiculed was once the commander of one of the most elite units in U.S. military history. A man who had orchestrated operations so classified that even now, their files remained sealed in black binders locked in Pentagon vaults. Daniel Hayes had returned to this town for peace. But peace had become a stranger. The old Ford Ranger creaked forward down a sun-drenched road, paint faded, rust blooming beneath the seams. Behind the wheel, Daniel sat in silence, wearing a threadbare shirt and a frayed cap stitched with the insignia of the 82nd Airborne. His hands, though veined and wrinkled, still gripped the wheel with a soldier's discipline. He didn't look into the rearview mirror to know he was being followed. He simply knew that a siren cut through the afternoon stillness like a slap. Daniel calmly pulled over to the side, guiding the vehicle to a stop with the ease of a man who had once dodged IEDs on foreign roads. He waited. The silence between the engine's rumble and the officer's next move was thick with something unspoken. Seth strutted toward the truck, baton tapping rhythmically against his palm. His sunglasses reflected the sunlight, but couldn't hide the smirk that curled at the edges of his mouth. "Trash like this isn't allowed to drive in my town," he said. The word "my" loaded with delusion. Daniel didn't respond. He reached slowly for the window crank. The mechanical sound of glass descending punctuated each beat of his heart. Seth leaned in, cigarette breath laced with contempt. "Where are your papers, Grandpa?" From his chest pocket, Daniel pulled out a worn bundle of documents. Seth grabbed them, flipped through them with theatrical disgust, then flung them back at Daniel's chest like refuse. The papers fluttered to the floor of the cab. "Where are you taking this rust bucket?" Seth sneered. "Heading to a nursing home? Shopping for your own grave?" Still, Daniel said nothing. "Out." "Vehicle inspection," Seth ordered, stepping back. Daniel obeyed. As he stepped down, slow with age but solid in posture, Seth shoved him hard in the chest. The move was cheap, unnecessary, and deeply humiliating. Daniel stumbled, falling to one knee on the asphalt. His cap rolled off, coming to rest near Seth's boot. Beside it, an old military badge, dulled by time but unmistakable in its dignity, glinted in the sun. Seth looked down and nudged the badge with his boot, dismissive. "A decoration for your trash heap?" Daniel said nothing. His eyes didn't burn with anger, only with a sorrow that ran too deep for tears. Seth, oblivious, kicked the badge into the dust, and with it, Daniel's car keys. They landed in a nearby storm drain. "Consider it a lesson. Walking's good for you." Still no response. Daniel picked up the cap, brushed off the badge, said nothing, but the silence was not surrender. It was the stillness before a storm. Later, Seth returned, this time with another officer in tow, Deputy Lars Rickman. They approached Daniel again, grinning like hyenas. This time, they tore through his truck. Tools, a canteen, an old jacket, and a leather-bound Bible were hurled onto the street. Then Seth found a rusted tin box and popped it open with his baton. Bronze stars, purple hearts, unit commendations. They spilled across the road like confetti in a funeral parade. "This your medal collection, Grandpa?" Seth jeered, kicking the medals into the gutter. "Think these tin cans mean people should bow to you? You're just another parasite in my town." Daniel bent to pick up the medals, hands shaking, but not from fear. His fingers, calloused by war and time, reverently retrieved each token of sacrifice. Still, he did not speak. That Seth's final insult was to seize a folded photo from Daniel's truck. A snapshot of a young Daniel in uniform, holding a dark-eyed child in his arms. He crushed it in his fist, then spit on it before tossing it to the dirt. This ain't a world for dreamers like you. What Seth didn't know was that the photo represented more than memory. It was a vow. Across the state, Alexander Hayes, a name whispered through war zones and rebel camps, received a call. One sentence. Son, come here. Within hours, Alexander, clandestine Delta Force commander and son of Daniel Hayes, descended upon the town. He didn't speak in press conferences. He didn't issue threats. He simply appeared, first at the bar where Seth laughed over his whiskey about the old geezer he had taken down. The laughter died when Alexander entered, his presence alone draining the air from the room. I am the storm you never saw coming, he whispered, twisting Seth's arm in one movement, not out of rage, but to prove that some lines, once crossed, summon consequences no one can escape. Later that night, at the police station, Alexander laid down his Black Ops ID and a classified dossier. No words, no requests, only a look. Sheriff Gordon Pike, red-faced and puffed with false pride, deflated in a heartbeat. I'm not here for talk, Alexander said. I'm here for change. Seth was arrested, not under standard procedure, but under silent public demand. The video of his abuse had gone viral, shared by a teenage girl who had silently filmed it all. Comments poured in from across the country. Veterans, families, teachers, children. They didn't call for violence. They called for truth. The town, once complacent in silence, now erupted with a quiet but firm resolve. Seth Kruger stood before the town at a hastily arranged public apology. The people did not clap. They did not jeer. They stood and watched as he wept and confessed, I was wrong. To Mr. Daniel Hayes and to the people of this town, I have betrayed the badge I wore. No one moved. The silence was thicker than applause. The following day, the town attempted to hold a ceremony honoring Daniel. He refused. His note was brief. I did not fight for medals. I fought so my children would never be slaves to titles. And that was the end of it. No interview. No appearance. Just silence. But something changed. Children began to draw pictures of Daniel sitting on his porch. Stores hung them in their windows. Cafes posted them on walls. No one asked them to. It just happened that a new phrase appeared around town. On signs. On mugs. On hand-painted murals. Live like Hayes. Daniel never acknowledged it. He simply sat on his porch, badge in hand. Beside his son, the world moved on. But Elmbridge never forgot. And that, in the end, was all the honor Daniel Hayes ever needed.